welcome. Today we're going to be filling these joints with polymeric sand. We laid these bricks last year, but we didn't fill the joints because the weather didn't permit it. So that's what we'll be doing today. If you want to learn how to lay the pavers, I'll do a video on that soon. Check below in the details for the link. And if you want to know how to do those pavers over there, they're 2x2 cement pavers. Check out my other video. I'll link it over here. Let's do this. First things first, since we didn't fill the gaps when we initially laid these pavers last year, naturally they're all full of gunk and leaves, and so my husband is attempting to remove the gunk with the electric pressure washer we already owned. Obviously, you want to try to avoid leaving the gaps empty for so long because then you'll be picking leaves off by hand like you see me doing here. But the reason we weren't able to finish it off last year was because this Techniseal brand says it needs to be above 32 degrees Fahrenheit for 48 hours. And since we laid the pavers when it was almost winter time last year, we were already at temperatures below 32. So make sure you check the instructions as per the manufacturer for the temperatures needed before you add the polymeric sand. I know another brand said don't add when temperatures were below 45 degrees. 3 days after pressure washing it, we borrowed my brother's air compressor and removed the leaves in the gaps with that, which ended up working better than the pressure washer. This is the brand we chose, and like I mentioned before, make sure you read all the instructions of the particular brand you're using because they all have different steps. Also, make sure the brand you buy of the polymeric sand is the one necessary for your needs. For example, our joints we have are super thin, but if you have wider gaps, you may need another brand, as this one says to use on gaps no bigger than ½ an inch and no smaller than 1/8 inch. Now that the gaps are all cleaned up, dump a bit at a time and spread the product evenly on a small surface area using a push broom. We didn't have a push broom, so regular broom it is. Then just sweep the sand over short distances, filling in the gaps. My husband isn't wearing one, but I suggest for safety precautions you wear a mouth covering and some goggles so that you don't inhale the sand nor get it in your eyes. As you can see here, we didn't add edging, so when the sand reaches the edge, obviously it falls out and leaves a gap. So in order for it not to do this, we came up with the idea of putting tape on the edge so that the sand would stay put until it hardened. You can see the sand fall out a little bit, so if you put the tape a little higher, that'll solve this problem, which is what we did on the other end. We didn't have a vibrating compactor, nor did we rent one, so I added a towel to our handheld tamper we already owned. But instructions do say to use the plate compactor, so if you do want to rent one, it'll run you about $90 a day or so. This is used to drive down the sand further into the cracks. Like I said, we didn't rent one, so we used our hand tamper over and over so that the sand could enter the gaps thoroughly. And for reference, our hand tamper was about 50 bucks. So to sum up the instructions so far, pour, sweep, tamper. Pour, sweep, tamper. I know some people feel intimidated because they don't have the right equipment or professionals make it look complicated, but I learned my skills at the University of Life and I used what I got. I don't like to spend extra money, and some of us don't have extra money, which is why I didn't hire somebody to do this in the first place. Plus, if you just take your time and do it yourself in your own yard, it's gonna come out beautifully. And you get to say, I did that. And isn't it a great feeling when you could say, I did that? Well, at least I think it is. That'll conclude my Mr. Rogers PSA for today. So on the other end, my husband had put the tape kind of low. So on this side, we realized you should leave some tape above. That way the sand doesn't roll over it and into the other side. And if you're interested on how to lay those rocks and 2 different types of edgings against the grass and the pavers, check out my other video. I'll put a link above and there'll be a link below. Once you've swept up all the excess, then it's time to remove all the sand residue with the leaf blower. As per instructions, sand level must be at least 1/8 below the top of the pavers. Last step is setting the sand with water, and the instructions say to start from the bottom of the slope and shower a 200 square foot section for 30 seconds. Then you wait a few seconds and wet the same section again for another 30 seconds or until the joints are saturated. And you have to avoid runoff and foaming. So I found that if I use the shower setting, I did get a lot of runoff and foaming, so I chose to use the mist setting. My hubby wanted to do with the instructions said, so after misting it a couple of times, he went ahead and used the shower setting. But as you can see there, you get a lot of runoff and foam, but the instructions say if you get that, then you could come in with a leaf blower and just blow it away. We just let it dry on its own. This is what it looks like 2 days later. And look, I don't have to pick out leaves from the gaps anymore, yay! I forgot to record us taking off the tape. We took it off about 3 hours after wetting it, and the sand stayed put. And that's it. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if we helped you out in any way. Hit that bell button for more notifications. Thanks for watching.